British Airways built a reputation as one of the world's safest airlines. But in January 2008, a routine flight from Beijing to London would nearly shatter that record in such a way that would literally change the way we build planes today. British Airways Flight 38 departed Beijing with 136 passengers and 16 crew on board a Boeing 777, a jet with an impeccable safety record of its own. By then, the 777 had flown over 13 years without a single hull loss. The flight was uneventful for nearly 12 hours. Finally, the long-haul flight was coming to an end as the runway at London's Heathrow was in sight. The aircraft descended through 1,000 feet, perfectly configured for landing. At 800 feet, the autothrottle commanded more power to counter the turbulence. The engines responded, but seconds later, the right engine began to wind back down. Then, shockingly, the left engine wound back as well. Suddenly, both engines were giving almost no power. The jet was still on approach, but losing energy. The thrust levers were shoved forward, yet nothing happened. The first officer moved the levers back and forth, desperate for any response, but still getting nothing. It was as if the engines were ignoring him completely. The engines weren't dead. They were running, but they refused to produce power. The first officer pushed the nose down to avoid the stall, but that meant diving straight at the ground where obstacles filled their path. An industrial park, a fuel station, and even a tube station. The captain made a snap decision which would save the lives of everybody on board. He reduced the flap setting to ease the drag to clear the obstacles that were just mentioned. The 777 cleared the ILS antennas by just millimeters before Flight 38 slammed into the muddy grass 330 meters short of the runway. The crippled jet finally came to a halt. Investigators quickly got to work and after inspecting the plane's fuel systems concluded that the engines lost power because of ice in the fuel system. On this flight, the water froze into ice crystals while the plane was cruising for hours in extremely cold air. Normally, this isn't a problem, but in this case, the ice slowly built up in the fuel lines. Now, just before landing, when the pilots pushed the throttles forward to get more power, the sudden rush of fuel knocked this ice loose. The ice then formed a clog on both of the engines. Both engines starved of fuel at the same time, which is why the plane couldn't make it all the way to the runway. Boeing and Rolls-Royce knew this could never happen again, so they completely redesigned the heat exchanger so that the ice could never block the flow of fuel. This fix was rolled out across every Rolls-Royce powered Boeing 777 in the world, and since then, no aircraft has ever suffered the same fate.